create consistent district grading, homework, and assessment practices. And so our department's been working on that for over a year and a half now. So far, our elementary curriculum coordinators have created a list of K-5 homework guidelines that kind of equalize the practice across district, taking into consideration, of course, individual student needs. At the middle school level, our department has been working with teachers through the curriculum adoption process to systemize assessments and make grading more consistent. And as Erin said, the high school has taken it even one step further. So they've been contemplating many areas surrounding grading and assessment, including grading scales, weighted grades, and graduation requirements. So I'm going to let Jeff talk to you a little bit about that process.
Awesome. Thanks for the opportunity, and glad to see many of you. I don't see you often enough. It's great to be in a situation that we're currently in where we're getting to talk about how we currently do business and how we can improve. I've been in Medina for 10 years now as athletic director and building principal, and for so many years it was do more with less. And we've gotten to the point where we've been able to stabilize and begin to look at our growth and where we need to grow and where we need to improve. And I think it was Aaron's first year, or maybe in the beginning of his second year, and he said to me, "What do you need at the high school?" And I didn't have the answer right off the cuff. And I left that meeting going, boy, I just missed my opportunity. I had my new boss ask me, "What do you need at the high school? What do you need to improve?" And I didn't have an answer for him. That's because of the mindset that we had had for so many years of trying to do more with less or little. So getting to the point where we are today to have some stable financial outlook and the way that we have done business over the past few years has given us this opportunity that then brings up all kinds of, I don't want to call them issues, but they brings up things that need to be talked about, considered, and a decision kind of made one way or the other. And I put up here how the game is changing, and unfortunately, before we even go down this conversation and talk about graduation requirements, class rank, weighted grades, all that good stuff, I think that we all need to caution ourselves not to jump to a conclusion of what we're comfortable with or what we experienced as students. Because the educational landscape today is much different than in 1995 when I graduated from high school. Okay, so it has changed greatly. And we need to remember that there are so many other educational opportunities and avenues for our students that we do need to examine how we do things. Because in education, sometimes we can get caught in that nasty, vicious cycle of doing the same thing over and over again, because you know what? That's how mom and dad did it. That's how grandma and grandpa did it, and that's how it was when I graduated. And I have to catch myself on a daily basis. But the further you get removed from spending your days at Medina High School with 2,500 of your closest friends, it's easier just to fall back on what we've always done. So with that, and I've kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit, some of the things that I'd like to discuss with you, educate, have conversation about our graduation requirements here at Medina High School or Medina City Schools. Because again, many of our students start checking off the list of graduation requirements as early as 7th grade with honors math and honors science and different areas of that nature. Then that moves into, if we start talking about opening that box of graduation requirements, then we start talking about class rank and what class rank looks like today compared to just a few years ago. And then on top of that, when we get in graduation requirements, when we talk class rank, we start talking GPA, we start talking grading scales, then all of a sudden we have a conversation of how we weight our grades. And towards the very end of this presentation, I'm going to show you how we weight our grades and the decisions we've made in the past to weight our grades is vastly changing the outlook of our graduates and what they have achieved or have not achieved. So again, let's all caution ourselves that as we go through this conversation, let's ask the questions, let's talk about it a little bit deeper. The first thing I have here, and I may be one short, I was just guessing when I made some copies earlier, is something that we produce every single year, and if you have not had a high school student yet, you probably have not seen this. This is referred to as our school profile. Every school, high school in Northeast Ohio, probably the state, has a school profile. Many times, new families moving into our district, realtors, our business community, as well as colleges and universities will ask for this profile. It may come to them in different forms, maybe as simple as this piece of paper here, or it may be something we fill out for colleges and universities so that when they're looking at our students and talking about if our students would be admitted or not to their college or university, they kind of want to know what that playing field looks like. Because we all understand that a student at Medina High School with a certain acquire certain GPA and credits that may look different than some other school. So they kind of want to understand where we're at as a school district. So on here, talks about we have class rank, talks about our advanced placement testing that I'll refer to a lot as AP, has our grading scale on there. And I'll point out one thing, if you look at our grading scale at Medina High School, which then trickles down to the middle school and beyond, most of our grades are on that 10-point system. 90 and above is an A, 80 and above is a B, so on and so forth. But if you look at a D, you have to have a 63 or higher to have a D to pass a class, not a 60. So that's something that kind of sticks out to some people when they look at it very closely. But when I ask the question around Medina High School, no one can tell me why it's 63 and not 60. Well, that does affect a certain population of our students when you fall into those ranges. So in talking about that grading scale then unfolds into board policy, handbooks, where are we, why is it that way? So that's something else that we'll discuss down the road. Our graduation requirements are on here. 20 credits is required to graduate. That is the state minimum. We could not go any lower than 20. Because I'll tell you what, back in 08 and 09, when things were a little thin and a little hairy, who knows, if the state minimum was 18, it may have been 18. But we are at 20. And then the breakdown is as follows. It's 4 in ELA, 4 in math, 3 in social studies, 3 in science, and so on and so forth. Do note that last year we did add a new graduation requirement. And hearing from our community and business partners, financial literacy was extremely important to our community. We had taught financial literacy, but it was a 2 to 3 week unit within economics. So we added that as a requirement. So of those 5 units of electives, they have to take the financial literacy class. Then of course we have our end of course exams that need to be passed to move on to graduation. So in talking about our baseline of 20 credits, what is Medina County doing? And what are the other school districts in Medina County? Everyone else but us is at 21. What does it really mean to go from 20 to 21? It's going to be probably either 2 elective classes, 2 half-credit courses, or a year-long course. But you also, if we look across our graduating class this year, many of our students are well exceeding 20 credits, 21 credits. Our top 10 kids per se are going to be between 25 and 26 credits. But then this also kind of rolls into our late arrival, early release. We no longer have late arrival, but we do still have early release. And getting back to the idea that school goes from 7:30 to 2:22. If the bare minimum is 20, and for a vast majority of our students, they're just hitting that 20 or 21, they get to their junior, senior class, junior, senior year, they don't have to take many more courses, and then they have these big gaps in their schedule that they're either going to sit in a study hall or they're going to request to get out of school at noon or 11:45 or something like that. So increasing that bar and raising that bar a little bit keeps our kids in school and taking courses that we as a community value and think they should be taking. Northeast Ohio, again, I didn't pick these school districts for any other reason except for their principals replied when I sent them the email. Many of them are my friends. We're in groups together. You can send out a quick email and they'll shoot back where they're at. So as you look down that list, you're going to see a lot of 21s as their requirements. You're going to see Strongsville, who's going to 22 in the year 2020. You're going to also see Berea Mid-Park, who's at 22, and you look at Westlake, who's at 23, and as well as Green is at 23. Now, of those 21 credits, or 22 or 23, some schools also have other requirements. Like they may require you to take a technology class. So one of your 5 electives should be in a technology class. Or back, a few years ago, maybe that was I hate to use the word home economics, but sometimes that was a requirement to take. Some have service learning components. Some have internship components to that. It may not really adjust the number of credits needed, but it's in addition to. At Medina High School, we currently don't have that. The closest we get to that is you're required to take financial literacy. That's the closest we get to something of that nature. So those are other conversations that will be spurred and continued from this conversation. So when we talk about those graduation requirements, going in and making a decision as to increasing them or not, we have the capacity at Medina High School to increase our graduation requirement and not necessarily have an explosion of needing to hire staff. We can add to our graduation requirement. We could make things that we feel as a community are important. Like for example, right now, Carrie Schreck and myself, Carrie Schreck, who's taking the lead with our college and career readiness initiative, have been talking quite a bit to our business community. And we had an opportunity to tour fire decks a few weeks ago. And one of the things that we asked them is, what can we do to better prepare our students to be your future employees? And that doesn't mean just working in the shop. That could be as an accountant, that could be as a sales, it could be marketing, whatever it may be. And overwhelmingly, not only FireDex, but some of our other partners is talking about communication. Effective communication, being able to have a conversation, be able to have eye contact, be able to communicate their message, to have a civil disagreement, and to work within a team. So those are things that we're starting to hear from our business community that we want to somehow roll into what we produce here at Medina High School. And on October 10th, which is our National Testing Day, in the afternoon, we have 45 high school teachers that are going out to 3 separate sites within our community to visit their workplace. FireDex is one. The other one is FIT, which is up in Valley City, and the third one is yet to be determined or confirmed. And they will get out there, talk to those owners, see the workplace, and find out what skills we may be lacking teaching here at Medina High School and Medina City Schools. So that's exciting. So as we start talking about the graduation requirement, there's a lot rolled into it that we need to consider. But I do think it's a time to have this conversation of, we are at the state minimum, and I don't think Medina is a community, and being a community member myself, I don't know if we're necessarily satisfied with being a state minimum type of school district. So that's graduation requirements, but then when you start talking about graduation, there's other things that roll in. And usually, unfortunately, when you talk about graduation, one of the first things that comes to mind is class rank, which, this is my opinion and my opinion only, class rank is a very archaic system of ranking our students. And we're seeing across the state many, many, many school districts foregoing class rank. College and universities are telling us it's at a clip of about 50% of the high schools in the state of Ohio no longer publish and or recognize class rank. And again, for class rank purposes, it's me against Chris. Okay, we go to the same school, it's basically ranking one against the other. Outside of the walls here at Medina High School, it doesn't really mean much. And college and universities are going away from it. Many high schools are going to the Latin system that many of us are familiar with from our college or university days, the cum laude, magna cum laude, and summa cum laude. Hundredths of a point at times will separate our students within class rank, and unfortunately it becomes extremely stressful for students, and it creates a lot of animosity. And I can't tell you that without you experiencing it. And if you've ever had a student who's in the top 10 at Medina High School, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. We're talking about calculating, formulating every assignment, every test, what classes I take, which classes I do not take. Because I can show you right now, and I have some examples at the end that I'll share with you, some of our highest ranking students miss out on the opportunity to take some of our most celebrated courses, from debate, orchestra, band, art, painting, AP art, things of that nature, because by taking those courses, it will hurt their GPA or harm their GPA. And that has to do with weighting of grades, which we'll get a little bit into here not too long. So what are our students asking us? And this is an example from a student from last year's graduating class. I have a pretty high GPA, 3.89 unweighted, 4.25 weighted, but a low class rank of 70 out of 600. Yes, last year's graduating class, the member who ranked 70th in the class of 2018 had a 4.25, and they were 70th in the class. Right now, in our current senior class, 13% of the class has a 4.0 or higher at Medina High School. How much does this affect my chances at Ohio State? Do they care more about my GPA or about class rank? The answer from our college admissions and talking to them, they care most about your grades in your most challenging courses, especially in your junior and senior years. So both the overall GPA and class rank will take a back seat to this. We're seeing over and over again in conversations with colleges and universities that our students attend that class rank and GPA are further and further down on the totem pole. They're simply looking at the courses our kids are taking at Medina High School, the level of rigor of those courses, and how they're doing. And are they taking courses off? Are they trying to inflate their GPA other ways? What are they taking and how are they doing? Other things that colleges are saying, and again, I want you to know that this information that I'm sharing with you about what they're saying, our school counselors 2 years ago called every college university that are graduating class of 2016, I think that was at the time, called every college university our students went to and asked them about GPA, asked them about rank, asked them about admissions and trends with their college or university. Overall, we prefer to see a student who has strong performance in a more rigorous course load than a student who has opted to take lighter course load at the sake of their GPA. 4 major factors when reviewing a transcript for admission: no order, unweighted recalculated GPA, test scores, rigor of courses, grade trends. Other factors may be letters of recommendation and student essays. I will tell you that no matter what kind of point scale we have with our courses, and when we go above 4 point to 4.2, 4.3, 4.5, when we send those records and that information to college and universities, the first thing they do is unweight it, and they put it on a 4-point scale. And again, it's not about the GPA, it's about the courses. When they look at those courses, are they taking the most rigorous curriculum at Medina High School? Which the most rigorous curriculum we can offer a student at Medina High School is our AP offerings, by far. And here it just explains about how, it could be harder to earn a high GPA at some schools than others. For example, a cumulative GPA of 4.4 at School A does not necessarily reflect strong academic performance than a GPA of a 4.1 at School B. 4.1 at School B could be ranked number 1 in her class, and while the School A student with the 4.4 could be a rank much lower. Other districts, again, it's the same exact districts from the first one I showed you, just because the ease of gathering the information. Medina County, you're looking at only 2 schools currently that don't rank, and that's Wadsworth and Cloverleaf. Brunswick is on the fringe of not ranking, and they're going through some of the same conversations that we're having here in Medina High School. But then when you look at Northeast Ohio and you look outside of Medina County, such school districts that achieve at such a great clip: Aurora, no rank; Jackson, no rank; North Royalton, no rank; Hudson, and then the number 1 school district according to a report card, depending on how much weight we put to report cards, Solon High School is no rank. So those are just a clip, and then the statistic they gave you about 50%. I went back and counted on this slide after I read some of that, and that slide shows about 50%. So again, they're just randomly selected by individuals I know or surrounding areas. So we are seeing a movement across Northeast Ohio of moving from a rank system to a non-rank. A reason that some school districts are a little slower to others, I think, to get to this point is some of that tradition and history that we've talked about, which is important. I don't want to discount that. That is important. And being a former history teacher, I understand it greatly. So then when we talk about class rank, how do we get to that class rank? How does the number 1 kid at Medina High School get to have or achieve at like a 4.89? Okay, what are they taking and how are they achieving at such great numbers? Typically, that student comes into Medina High School having already finished 2 of the 4 required math courses. Usually will have completed 1 of the science courses. Usually is already moving on to level 3, level 2 or level 3 of a foreign language. And then who knows, may have taken some summer classes along the way so that they can get to the very end of our offerings, which offer a ton of AP. Our regular courses like Algebra 1, regular biology, physical science, it's on a 4-point scale. All of those courses are 1 course equals 1 credit. So you take that class all year long, like physical science, you're getting 1 credit at the end. Honors physical science, for example, is on a 4.5 scale. Being an honors course, it is assumed that it is of more rigor, faster pace, greater depth of knowledge. It's rewarded with a 4.5 scale, so if you get an A, it's no longer a 4, it's a 4.5. Again, year-long, 1 credit. Move on to our AP courses, which most of our students will hit in their junior year. Some of them will hit a few of them in their sophomore year, but the AP curriculum usually gets dumped on them in the junior year. That's at a 5.0 scale. That's our most rigorous curriculum at Medina High School, and that's 1 credit for 1 full year within that course. And that could be anywhere from AP Chemistry or AP English Comp, Lang. We have 17 currently, 17 AP courses that we offer, and our students do quite well. The other one, which has really changed the game, and where it comes from the title of the presentation, the game is changing, is CCP. For those of us that went to high school a few years ago, it was post-secondary. It's our kids who are taking courses that are fulfilling both high school requirements as well as college. College Credit Plus, 5.0 scale. State law requires that whatever your highest point value for a course at your high school is, which for us it's 5.0, those CCP courses come in at that scale. So if I go to the University of Akron and I take a class such as badminton for my PE requirement, when badminton comes back onto your Medina High School transcript, it comes as a 5.0A. Okay, not bad-mouthing badminton, okay, but point being is it comes back as a 5.0A. You'll see how that will change things for students. Also, CCP courses are all based on semesters. So if I take that semester of badminton, I get 1 credit in a semester. Whereas a high school course, any of the 3 to the left, I'm going to have to achieve one credit, I got to take it for the whole year. So the accumulation of credits goes very quickly with CCP, and when you start accumulating credits very quickly at a higher point value, you can skew your GPA very, very quickly. We have seen some unbelievable jumps in GPA over the past couple of years. And as students and parents and those involved start to understand and see the impact of that, and if their goal is to have a high class rank or a high GPA, because in their mind they still believe that's truly what colleges and universities look at, they're going to load up on CCP courses and they're going to shoot that GPA and that class rank through the roof. We've seen kids in the 130s jump all the way to 40th in a class in a year. In years past, that just isn't possible, is not possible. But today's day and age, and with 5.0 and CCP, it changes the game. CCP changes the game not only for our students, it changes the game for us as a school district too in many ways, and it's not just with grades. So let's look at a couple of examples. These are current seniors, student 1, 2, and 3, all wonderful Medina students that have been here since kindergarten. Many of them achieved at a high level in middle school and started taking high school courses. I tried to put this in a table that would be most understandable, but I'll walk you through it. Let's look at student 1. After their 9th grade year and in their sophomore year, these students are basically taking the same courses. They're already in honors geometry as a freshman. Then they took honors geometry as a freshman, then honors algebra 2 as a sophomore. They're in honors bio. They're taking similar classes. So after their freshman year and during their 10th grade year, they're ranked 15th, 19th, and 20th respectively, their class rank. So then during their junior year, 2 of the students realized that we have this thing called CCP, and they may have chosen to take CCP because maybe it's an area of interest. Maybe they heard that if they take these courses, they can start on their college requirements sooner. Their parents may have heard that I could save some money by them taking some CCP and get some requirements out of the way. I take CCP and I don't have to pay for the book, so that's good. So our 2 students, 2 and 3, student 2 took 3 CCP courses during their junior year. Student 3 took 4 CCP courses during their junior year, and look what happened. They went from 20th in the class to 5th, 19th in the class to 8th, and our student who stuck at Medina High School, taking our most rigorous curriculum and taking all the AP courses she possibly could and took no CCP, went up to about 13th. Okay? Then during moving into the 12th grade year, our 2 people down there go, wow, I jumped from 20th and 19th to 5 and 8, decided I'm done with that CCP thing because you know what, I want to take AP Lit with Mr. Quaid, or I want to take the AP Chemistry with Mr. Hammond. I want that experience here at the high school. They're not taking CCP anymore. They took 4 and 3. Most of them will take a personal finance class, Psych or Soc, English Comp 1 or 2, a government course is a popular one, and economics is a popular CCP. We offer 15 CCP courses in our building. A good chunk of those are taught by our teachers, and that's maybe a conversation for another time why we choose to do that. And then we have some adjunct professors come into our building as well to offer some of these courses. Our philosophy at Medina High School is if we offer them here in the building, that means our students stay here and they don't leave and go to campus, because if they leave and go to campus, we may never see them again. And we truly believe there is more to high school than just the academic piece of it. There's a social maturity aspect that we like to talk about as well. So this year, they're during their 12th grade year, student number 1 who says, man, I've kind of plateaued with my class rank. I'm taking courses with these students. I know I'm as academically gifted as them, but they've jumped to 5 and 7. I'm going to take this CCP thing, and signed up for 2 CCP courses. So it'll be interesting to see where that student's rank goes from 15 to wherever after taking 2 CCP courses this year. The other 2 are not taking it. Maybe they're satisfied being 5 and 7, but they will not end at 5 and 7 without taking CCP this year. So that's kind of a snapshot picture as to what that looks like. I will tell you that the current number 1, and here we are talking about class rank and not necessarily being ideal, our current student who has achieved at the highest level in our senior class has not taken a single CCP course until this year. She or he has taken every AP offering we have. She or he has gotten an A+ in every single class all the way through high school. Okay? However, they understand that if she doesn't take that CCP course, or at least get one in, she's in jeopardy of falling out of that spot. And it has signed up for a CCP course this year. So, but up to this point have not. I will tell you also that many of our highest achieving students, an observation that we have and data to prove, do not take many of our most celebrated courses. And that would include things like I said earlier, debate, our music program. Usually they have to have a fine art, a credit of fine art. Many of our high achieving students achieve that through band or orchestra. Others achieve it through art fundamentals and another art class. Once they get that done, they're out, because those are unweighted courses that if I take them in comparison to a classmate who's taking weighted courses, that person's going to out-achieve me in GPA, and I'm going to slip behind. So when you look at some of our highest achieving students, they're not hitting some of those electives and other courses outside of the core that we value and as adults understand are pretty important. And as we look to add some electives for what our community wants us to add, those will not be attractive to our highest achieving students because it could hurt their GPA. So what are we here? What are we talking about? What am I proposing? I'm not proposing anything. Much of what I've told you here too is a lot of my opinion. I could tell you many of the staff members within Medina High School has strong opinions about some of these. But what I'm here to tell you is what we want to do is we want to start this conversation. It can be emotional. I understand that. Anytime you change anything, I have learned it can be a challenge. But I do think for the sake of our students, it is something we need to begin to discuss and choose as a district a direction we would like to go. You know, instead of being reactive, I would like to be a little proactive and get ahead of the game a little bit. So what I'm here to tell you is that we're going to start this conversation. We're going to start it with parents. We're going to start it with students and staff. We're going to hold some informational / discussion type of meetings here in the fall and early winter, both with our parents, our community, and our students. I have a pretty good firm grasp of where our staff is because we've been talking about this for many years. And then once those steps are kind of completed, we want to come back to the board and bring a proposal of some sort. I'm not sure what it may look like for consideration. But it's taken me 4 years to learn this. We have to talk about this stuff now because by December, registration guide is out, scheduling starts, and it's crazy. I still have a tough time wrapping my head around that as a building principal. That once September ends, we're already talking next year, and we got to start getting things in motion for it to happen for next year. But some of these things don't necessarily have to be on or off and be next year. It could be grandfathered in. It could be starting with the class of 2021. However, we may choose to do it as a district. And I'll be happy to share ways that other districts have approached it and done things. But that's nice. That's the way they did it. That isn't the Medina way. So we need to make sure that we customize it to best meet our students first, our community second, and do what we can do for them. I have one thing I would like to share with you, and it's not to be necessarily read here, but this was from our Medinamite, which I'm proud to say, yes, we have an online presence for our student newspaper, but our student newspaper also does old-fashioned print, okay? And last year's student editor for our Medinamite wrote a piece, an opinion piece about class rank, and that's what you'll see on here. It's on front and back, talking about the system and such with her beliefs. Then there's a little bio about her, and what I want to tell you about this young lady is currently at the University of Minnesota, majoring in journalism and Chinese. And while she was at Medina High School, she was, I think she says in there, she was 35th. She was in the top 35 by the skin of her teeth. But she took journalism and then she audited it, because if she would have taken journalism and taken the grade, it would have dropped her GPA and she would have fell out of the top 35. So she took it, but she audited the course, meaning she didn't receive a grade for it. She received a 7-county scholarship of $2,500 for the next 4 years. So she won a $10,000 scholarship because of her involvement with the Medinamite and being our student newspaper editor. And the shame of it all, she may not have taken journalism because it would have hurt her GPA, but she chose to take it. So that's just kind of a little snapshot of how it really affects students. So with that, I've talked a lot, and I know you guys well enough that I'm sure you have questions or comments or things you want to talk about. So let's open it up.
Great presentation. Can I ask a question? Can I jump in? All right, thank you. So if you don't have class rank, what do you do with the top 20 students? You still have top 20 students at graduation?
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't.
So you're going to do
or let me say, schools who have eliminated class rank don't.
They don't.
They go to the Latin system. They have some type of visual cord or something at graduation that would signify them as summa cum laude and such. And what it is, it's a goal for more than just 20 students to reach. It's a goal that any student could reach if they so choose to put the effort of work in. So yes, you wouldn't have the top 35 anymore.
So how many people would be in the summa cum laude? I guess, how many?
Every member of the class could. There's no cut off. When you set those levels,
Yeah.
those 3 levels, you would choose a GPA.
Okay.
So for example, some schools might say for summa, the top, I don't have it in front of me, the highest level is 4.0 and higher. Then the second level may be like a 3.75 and higher. And then the last level may be a 3.25 and higher.
So there's still some GPA.
Oh yeah, there's still a GPA to it.
And the weighting may still have a factor or something
Could.
like that.
Yep.
So then my third question is the class rank still on the transcript?
It would not be, but if and when there's that rare occurrence, and let's talk about that, because some people say, well, I know my son went to X school and they needed to know his class rank for honors dorm, to get in an honors dorm. We could still provide the information they would need to make that decision. We would either provide it in a class rank form, or they would provide it that the student's in the top 2% or the top 3%, which is a more accurate picture of where they would fall in the course. So in those rare instances where class rank is still used, there are local scholarships that are offered here in Medina, that one of the first questions is, what's your class rank? Ken Duke Scholarship, I'm familiar with that. Guidance counselor has to sign off on it and put on there what the class rank is. So this is not only an education piece or conversation to have not only with us, those that are closely related to it, but some of those support organizations, PTOs, athletic boosters, and things of that nature, and say, it's not necessarily class rank. So we could choose to do it and still provide some of that information.
And I think it's also interesting at times that you don't always have one valedictorian. I realize that we honor several usually at graduation or in that category of co-valedictorian. How many do we have, 2 or 3?
One.
Just one?
In the time I've been here, we've only had one valedictorian, one salutatorian, which is number 2.
Okay.
But there are some school districts, and I forget which one it was in Ohio, that anyone over 4.0 was designated as a valedictorian, and they had some ridiculous number
You
of
don't
valedictorians.
anticipate, if these changes are made, having a valedictorian.
It could be something that we choose to do or not do. Some districts I know have eliminated rank, but they still recognize a valedictorian, salutatorian. And then others, depending on their beliefs, say nope, don't. Understand that valedictorian, salutatorian at Medina High School, we don't really recognize valedictorian, salutatorian. We recognize top 35. At senior awards, if you've been senior awards, we do recognize the top 10, but you kind of have to be paying attention and figure out when it stops from being alphabetical to kind of a non-alphabetical, because there we are going 10, 9, 8, 7 all the way down to the end. The kids know who the valedictorian is. They will always know who the valedictorian is because they watch it that closely. So that is about the extent that we do as far as recognizing the top 35, top 10 valedictorian, salutatorian. Some school districts, or some high schools, whoever gives a speech at graduation usually is the valedictorian. That is not the case here at Medina. We open it up to the whole class. You could be number 617 in this year's class and give the address or one of 2 messages at graduation.
Back when Ryan and I attended here, maybe Jim, I don't know too, but it was the top 10%
Okay.
was recognized, and at some point that changed.
I don't think, and that's interesting you bring that up, because we talked about this last year. How many did you graduate in your senior class?
Well, a lot, it was 440.
440.
Somewhere like
It's a lot. So I think the top, because we have the top 35. It's one of those questions, why do we have the top 35? I think at some point in time when they started doing top 35, it was the 10% of the graduating class. And I don't think that number's ever really changed when we recognize the top 35. So, actually it's top 36 is what we recognize. Have to have the even number for the highest. But I think at one point that may have been the top 10%.
Thank you.
No problem.
Jeff, you mentioned about the parent meetings.
Yeah.
We know sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get parents to come to meetings.
Uh-huh.
How do you propose to generate the interest participation to get that?
I think an important part of it is you find people in the community that are opinion leaders and people who like to be involved. But there are certain support groups that I think will find of interest of this. PACE, our gifted population, things of that nature that have a strong, that are strong supporters of what we do. I think when you start talking graduation requirements, the needles don't really move a whole lot there. when you talk weighted grades, people really, it doesn't move the needle, but as soon as you mention class rank, because it's what so many of us are so familiar with, that's when the needle goes. And I think when we start mentioning things like that, or if we were talking about gown colors, the needle goes off the charts. So there are certain things that will trigger that reaction, unfortunately, but there's a strong population within Medina that find these things to be very important. So we will search high and low, and like we always do, we'll offer it up to as many people as we can, and we'll take as many as we can. But we'll seek out some people too. Some of our support groups, from Friends of the Orchestra to the band boosters, the athletic boosters, things like that, we'll have some people that are always involved. But I know Aaron and I both have received emails over the past couple of years about weighted grades and class rank from community members that I've never heard from, that I didn't recognize their name, that I've kept, and I will definitely reach out to them.
I appreciate the conversation you're having about the requirements, graduation requirements, and some of the additional types of things. And basically, you were describing what I call the soft skills.
Yeah.
That people are very compartmentalized in how they approach things, but they don't have the ability to talk or look one another in the eye or those kind of things. And so I definitely encourage that way of thinking, because in the business, it's just hard to get somebody to walk up and shake your hand, or somebody to, there's just a lot of that I'd love to see that put forth in some form of
I think I think we've seen the effects of eliminating courses like that, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and we're seeing them today. And we're hearing it from business community, and we're listening. And, we don't require our students to take any technology courses. Now, again, technology courses I may have taken in high school will be much different than today's technology courses. But that effective oral communications, I mean, those of us that went to college, that was a requirement. You remember sitting up and giving a speech, a persuasive speech, an argumentative speech. Things of that nature are very important, very important. In today's workplace, it is important to work within teams. It's not about separating one from the other. It's more of a collaborative effort. So, and that's where my opinion and bias come in a little bit here, is that our class rank system is promoting a fixed mindset that, I'm born to do well in school, and not the growth mindset that we talk about so much, that, here's the goal, and if you work hard, you can get to that. It doesn't matter how hard my son as a freshman this year works, he may just never take the right courses to get to the top. But if he works hard enough and achieves the grades that he should achieve, maybe he could hit those different GPA thresholds. And that's what we want. We want our students to believe they have an opportunity to. Many kids walk in, and outside of the maybe 50 kids, the top 36 there's no way, no chance. And that's disappointing, especially with the class of this year, 617. And think about a 3.0, which is a B, 3.0, B average, falls at exactly in the middle at 308. Well, not quite exactly, if you're doing the math, but if I have a 3.0 in Medina High School right now, I'm 308th in the class of 2019. I don't know what it says. I may have my biases and opinions, but, and 13% of the class has a 4.0 or better, which is, that's wow.
Yeah, question about the Career Center. Does that mirror what you're talking about for our high school?
What do you mean by mirror? What are we talking about in particular? Because as our kids go to the Career Center, they're going for a program,
Right.
and they're still our kids who graduate under our requirements. So many of their programs, be it HVAC or animal care, things like that, are eating up a lot of their elective courses that they would take. They take many of their academics with us, and at the Career Center. So they have that 20 credit, which is a requirement of graduation, is the same for those students.
20 credits is the same over there as it is here?
Yes, yeah, because I always think even though they attend the Career Center, they're still our student and have to meet these requirements. Some students don't necessarily always agree with me when I tell them that they're still our students, but they are.
Okay, and I agree with Rob. Great presentation and a lot of info. I'm trying to.
And I invite
sort it out.
all of you, I could talk till I'm blue in the face about all of this and the wonderful things we do at Medina High School and the things we need to improve upon too. My door's always open. I'd be happy to talk about any of this at any time. Believe me, it takes me sometimes 3 or 4 times to remember some of this, and I deal with it every single day. So please don't hesitate to call or reach out, or if you want to have a conversation about it, I'd be more than happy to.
Thank you. All right, one more question.
Yep.
I think at one time, didn't we talk about an hours requirement as well? Kids had to have so many hours. Is that part of this?
Yeah, that has to do with attendance and their amount of hours in
Right.
school.
Okay, so that's, we're just talking academic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just not, they're going to meet that threshold for hours. We far exceed it for that bare minimum of hours they need to be in school. But with all the educational options that kids have today, something that's becoming harder and harder is attendance, and kids attending school and being at school with the flexibility of different educational opportunities. So something we as an administrative team have really been hammering this year and will continue is when kids hit certain thresholds of missed school, we're all over them because they need to be here, and we're judged by that as well. So, thank you.
Well, and along with that, I'm happy to see that we no longer have the late arrival. I've always thought these are the hours of school, this is when kids should be in school, both as a parent and as, you know, a board member and taxpayer. So I'd really like to see that early release, you know, kind of go away and have classes, and I think we should have more higher graduation requirements. Looks like from the county, we're at the minimum, and everybody else exceeds us.
Yep. And there's a reason we're there.
I know that.
And there's a reason, you know, I can't agree with you more talking about late arrival and early release. As a building principal, I can't stand it because we eliminated late arrival this year. Our tardies are way down. 7:30 rolls around, that parking lot's a ghost town. Kids are in our building. Our building is secure. You know, we don't have doors open for kids to get in. Because when you had late arrival, you'd have kids coming in and you don't know, are they late or are they just coming early to their second period class? So it was very tough with 2,500 kids to figure that out. But it's a struggle for us with parents and community members who may have adjusted their lifestyle or their daycare needs based on late arrival and early release. So getting back to the idea that school is 7:30 to 2:22 has been difficult at times. But if people understand why we got to that point, it was because we were riffing and reducing so much that we had nowhere to put kids. And now we're adding back the things that we all value and want, and that's the reason why the school day needs to go a little longer. Then the conversation turns pretty quickly. I would love to get to the point where it's seniors only and you get one period of early release. We can reward those seniors for that hard work and being there, but anything more than one period of early release beyond seniors is, in my eyes, is not productive. Not productive. Because we have very few sophomores, but right now we have juniors and seniors who have early release. And many of the juniors, they're sitting around waiting for their senior friend to take them home. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm chasing them around the halls. It's like, how do we put you in a class? Or at the very least, sign in the media center every day so I don't see you, because if I do, you're going to go in a class. So, yeah, it's getting there, but yeah, I agree. I don't want my kid going home at 12:30 in the afternoon when I'm at work.
Exactly. Right. Some trouble starts.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That was a lot of information. We appreciate all that you've done so far. I look forward to results in the meetings and things out of that. Thank you, John.
No problem.
Thank you.